So welcome to creating accessible PDF documents for the non-designer. It's for anyone really. If you don't mind muting your mic, I think you all come in with a muted mic anyway. So in case you're wondering if you're in the right place, we are going to be creating accessible documents. So I've created a Spark presentation and I've listed all my resources and all my links within the Spark presentation, and I will share the link to the presentation in the chat at the end of our session. Okay, and just a heads up, if you want to follow along and you have just a PDF that you want to make accessible, we can do it together. There is a point where I'm just going to walk you through it. It's really simple. So if you want to get that while I'm talking and just going through the beginning part of that, feel free. In my example, I'm actually just going to be using one of my own assignment specs, and I'll show you how I make it accessible. So creating PDF documents accessible for the non-designer or anyone. Okay, so you might ask, why a PDF? Why not just a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation? So the reason why I decided to do this workshop, I recently took a PD called Globalizing Our Classrooms with Holly Sobolski. I think she has a session later on in the day. You should definitely check it out. I highly recommend this. Definitely check my PD for new dates coming in May. So in this workshop, of course, accessibility comes up, and other professors were wondering how to make active links in a PDF. And I thought, well, I know this. I teach design. Of course, I should do a workshop. So it doesn't matter which program you use to create your content. You can use Word, InDesign. I use InDesign personally, Pages, PowerPoint, whatever. You can export a PDF from any of these programs. And we all have access to Adobe Creative Cloud. And you can grab Adobe Acrobat. So if you don't have that installed, you can watch this session and you can install this later. I've added the link here. It is an active link. So today we're going to be working with Adobe Acrobat. Okay, so why a PDF? PDF documents are universal. They can be read on anything. They don't need to have Acrobat installed. And other PDF readers, they're mostly free. It's just universal. They're responsive, meaning they will reflow text onto smaller screens. Any screen you're on, it will just adjust and work. PDF documents are secure. Nobody can alter the original content. You can also password protect your PDF documents. They have smaller file sizes. You can take your entire PowerPoint and squish it into one PDF presentation. They're collaborative. People can add comments in specific locations throughout the document itself without altering the original content. And they can send it to you and you can reply and then send it back. It's great. There's also an option to create fillable fields. So you can even create a form in a PDF, all through Adobe Acrobat, by the way. You can set it up in, say, Word, for example. If you're using Word, you can just create sort of a space in the area where you want to add maybe a fillable field, and then you just create it in the PDF. Interactivity. PDFs can contain hyperlinks, embedded images, music, and video. And last but not least, accessibility, which is why we're here. Accessibility can make the document universal. We can insert bookmarks, alt text, tags, which are searchable within the document. PDFs can be read by on-screen readers for the visually impaired. Even someone who can't use a mouse can work their way through a PDF just by using their tab button on their keyboard. So accessibility, what do we mean by accessibility? So I'm just going to read this quote. Accessibility is the degree to which a product, device, service, or environment is available to as many people as possible. Accessibility can be viewed as the ability to access and benefit from some system or entity. The concept often focuses on people with disabilities or special needs and their right of access, enabling the use of assistive technology. And nowadays, it's really important to have your content, just make your content universal so everyone can access it. I was just reading through, I'm just going to click over here to this other tab. websites have been sued. There have been so many lawsuits for not having accessible websites. And I can also share this link with you guys in the chat. I didn't actually put it in my references, but I will. And this, by the way, this link that I send you for this document, anything that I update or add, the link won't change. You'll just see the changes being made. So what are the guidelines? Yes, there are actually guidelines. And you can access the guidelines here. And this is a lot of reading. We're not going to do it. Don't worry. They're the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, as well as here, recommendations from ISO. Okay, so for our purposes, we're going to be focusing on what Blackboard considers to be an accessible document or PDF, and how we can apply these features to the documents that we upload. So the benefit of following these guidelines is that content becomes more usable for all of the users, accessibility. So points we're going to touch on, alt text, and I'm going to define all these. So if you don't know what they mean, don't worry. Defining headings, how to tag your document, creating a clickable working link or hyperlink, accessibility checker. So additional design tips, because my inner designer cannot sit still, yes, or other accessible document characteristics. So a few things you should know just about creating or the design of your document. Did you know that 8% of the male population and 0.5% of the female population have some form of color blindness? I didn't know. I'm a designer. I should know this. I didn't know until I found out that both of my sons are partially colorblind. So moral of the story, you can't rely on color alone to convey meaning. Be sure to use color combinations with enough contrast. Unsure if you have enough contrast? Of course, being a designer, I have a link where you can check. So you can upload a screenshot of your document. Okay, and this is the result you'll get. So the link is here. It's called Color Contraster. It is in my links and my references at the bottom of this, and it's also here. But basically, you upload your document and it checks it, and it will pass all of these contrast and color accessibility, color contrasting tests. I also have a Chrome extension called Color Blinding, which is right here. And I'm just going to click it. It's this little eyeball, color spelled the US way. And I just want to show you, take a look at my document. You can see these colors here. If I click on red blind, okay, this is what it looks like. This is green blind. This is blue blind, red weak, green weak, blue weak, monochrome, and blue cone monochrome. So you can see there's a whole bunch of different kind of color blind types out there. With my sons, I find that they say greens and reds kind of look like muddied browns. So it's pretty interesting. So as long as there's enough contrast, your document is considered accessible. Fonts, typefaces. For maximum readability, please consider the following. When considering your typeface, try to stick with something standard or boring. Yes, boring. Boring is good. We want boring. Helvetica, Arial, Times Roman, you decide. All of those standard things, no problem. And just an FYI, for on-screen reading, a sans serif font is the choice, the better choice. Sans serif means there aren't these little ticks and things. You know, if you look inside a book, you see all the little ears and feet on all the letters. Sans serif doesn't have that. It's just like this, basically. The larger the font size, the easier it is to read, of course, obviously. An ideal font size for the visually impaired is 16 points, which is pretty big, but 14 points would be the compromise. And yes, of course, you can zoom in on a PDF, but don't make your fonts less than 8 points. Not only will a designer somewhere die, it makes your text unreadable. You know, the fine print, that's like a 6-point print. You need a magnifying glass to see that. Avoid fancy or stylized fonts. So anything cursive, anything that you think looks cool or pretty, they're illegible. And they actually make visually impaired people unable to read what you've written. Use actual type for your original content. Don't take photos of type and paste it in your document, because screen readers won't be able to interpret that. They'll interpret it as an image, not as type, and they won't be able to read it. Of course, you can add alt text to this, alternative text to this, but yeah, there's always a workaround, right? But still, always better or safer to just use regular type. Avoid different font sizes on the same line of text. This makes it difficult for OCR, or optical character recognition readers, to interpret what is written. Be sure your type is aligned properly. For example, don't do this. Don't just sort of shift it, because the OCR readers can't interpret that properly either. Additional considerations. So, controls for audio. A lot of the times people will create, maybe you remember websites from the early 2000s where you'd log in and all of a sudden there's this music playing and you have all these tabs and you're like, where is this coming from? So, and you're closing the tabs. Anyways, controls for audio. Allow the person to stop it or turn it down. No use of flashing or blinking elements. Obviously, this could trigger seizures. No focus changes without user initiation. And consistent navigation and identification of elements. So kind of like basics of web design, where you're always going to have your menu on one side, no matter which page you're on, so the person isn't looking around for it. That's just good design. These tips are from Adobe, and there's a link if you want to check it out. So I found this infographic on web accessibility, and I just wanted to focus on the percentages of disabilities. And of course, this is usually, I was looking for a bunch of these infographics. It's interesting. Most of them are for the States, statistics from the States. There was nothing, like almost nothing for Canadian statistics. Obviously, there's more people in the States. I mean, these are probably a little off, but you know, maybe not too much. So it is something to definitely consider. Okay. So Blackboard, have you noticed Blackboard now has a feature that tells us how accessible your documents are. It does offer suggestions if you click on this low gas. I want to call it the low gas, or, you know, it reminds me of the car dashboard here. But it makes sense, right? You're kind of slow, or I guess you could say if you were driving or you're low on gas. So accessibility score. Low, click to improve. Now, they came out with this, I think it was before last semester, maybe it was the semester before. It's pretty recent. And I don't think they had this before, because I was not getting a response. I couldn't figure out, you know, where do we find this? We have to search on Blackboard's website. But I think this is new. If anyone wants to correct me, I didn't notice it before, but when you hover over it, you get this message and you can actually click on it now. So yes, this is my terrible PDF. This is excuse me. This is the PDF that I create my PDFs in InDesign or even Illustrator. And if I just straight export it as a PDF, this is the score I get, which is, So I'm going to tell you what these two mean here. So PDF is untagged, basically, that's what it's saying, which makes it, of course, hard for screen readers to see what's on my screen here. So when we click how to tag a PDF, this one here, okay, we need to locate and upload the original document. So here are the options that it gives me when I click that. Now, what if we don't have the original? What if we used a different program than Office or Word or PowerPoint or LibreOffice? I personally use InDesign, and I am pretty sure that Blackboard won't be able to read my INDD file. So what's the workaround? Altering the PDF itself, of course. What does Blackboard want? So after doing a little bit of digging, here are the things that Blackboard wants. The following list includes the top 5 things you need to know about designing accessible content. If you are adding images to your content, you must define the alt text for them. And again, I'm going to tell you what that means. If you're adding video or other multimedia, you must include descriptive captions for this. One of the top complaints from students with visual impairments is the inability to consume attached files. Okay, so define appropriate headings and lists can help with that. Properly tag attached PDF files to ensure their structures can be read by screen readers. Okay, so, and this is actually from Blackboard. That's the link if you want to go through everything. When you click what this means in the above, this one right here, when you click what this means, you get a little infographic here. So kind of like what we were talking about, essential for students with visual impairments, easier navigation, and adapts to your screen size. So Adobe Acrobat. If you have a PDF available, feel free to follow along. And we're going to open it in the Acrobat Reader. I'm going to use my terrible PDF as the example, the one that I got 6% on. So I'm going to bring it into Acrobat and see how we can make it accessible. I did create my assignment specs in Adobe Illustrator and saved as a PDF. No special treatments, no additional options, no compression, nothing. Just save, accept everything, and save. Okay. So we're going to open Adobe Acrobat. So those of you following along, this is Adobe Acrobat right here, which I already have open. And these are, let me just go to my first page. This is my low poly selfie WPAP assignment that I give to my students. So I just want to go through this here before I get ahead of myself. So we're going to open the file, okay? Or you can double click on your PDF and it should open. If Acrobat is not your default program, if maybe you're just using, what is it? Depending on if you're on a Mac or PC, on a Mac, it's called Preview. On a PC, I think it's something similar. I can't remember the exact name, but sometimes it just opens in a preview window or an image preview. So what you want to do is actually just right click on your PDF file, and on a PC, you're going to go to Properties, or on a Mac, you're going to go to Get Info. And you can select the default program to open these types of files. Select Adobe Acrobat, and then all your PDFs will open in Acrobat. Okay? Makes sense? Okay, so be sure you're signed in. Okay, if not, just go to Help and sign in. So if we go to Help, and I am signed in right now. It's funny, it says up here that I'm not signed in. Okay, there we go. There's our little image over there. And be sure you've got a menu along the right side like this. You might not have all of the same tools as me, and that's okay. You can add or take away by clicking on the More Tools button at the bottom. If you don't see this panel, you can go to your View menu, Show, Hide, and Tools pane, and just be sure that it's checked. Okay, so View, Show, Hide, and that's the Tools pane. So that's what this thing over here is called. Okay, and I put a little screenshot here too. So for anyone who's watching this later, everything is within this document too. Now, more tools. We got to open something here. I made a little video of me clicking the More Tools button. There's no voice in this, but you can see on the bottom, it says no tools. More tools. And these are all the tools that you can add or take away, and they've been listed here. Okay, so you can see if I click on share, I can add share, just click the X beside it, can close it. Okay, so I just want to show you how you can add your tools along the right side there. Okay, oops, let me just close that. So here's my low poly assignment specs with student examples plus a bad example. I made a video, but since we're live, let me just scroll through it. So of course I have all my specs. I add my student examples here, and I always add a bad example of what I don't want. So creating a low poly, and they always get a good laugh out of that bad example. So as you can see, my document flows in a logical order. Top to bottom, left to right. I need to create active links, alt text, define my headings, and add tags because Blackboard says my document is unacceptable. So a clickable link or a hyperlink is a section of text or a pasted URL that's added to your document. And when clicked, it will redirect the user to a new web page. Alt text, so that's alternative text. For an image or an image description, you can add the description. It's invisible, but it will be read aloud by the OCR reader. Have you ever been on a web page and you hover over something and there's some text and it will say what it is? That is alt text, alternative text. And then tags. A tag is a navigational feature, which includes paragraphs, headings, and a present tab order, which aids screen readers, users with good content structure and assists users in using the document without having to read through the entire document. So this makes the PDF easy to navigate. And this also allows the user to flip through the document just using the tab key rather than a mouse. So I'm all about working smarter, not harder. Let's use the automated tool built into Acrobat. Yes, it's automated. Now you have no excuses. So you have to make all of your PDFs accessible. Okay, so I wrote down the directions here, and I have also added screenshots. I've also made a video of me doing this. Okay, so those of you following along, we're going to do this together. Okay, so and those of you looking later or want to refresh, everything's there, written, screenshots, and video, and you can watch this again. So lots of options. Okay, so we're going to select more tools and we're going to add the action wizard. So I do have it added already. It's right here. But when I select more tools down there, the action wizard is right here, customize action wizard. Okay. Now, to get back to your PDF view, all you need to do is just click on the tab. So for me, it's my low poly specs, and it just gets rid of that menu option. Okay, so I'm going to click on Action Wizard, and I'm going to click on this right here. It says Make Accessible. Boom, look at this. And then I'm going to click Start. Now, my title, I don't know where this came from or what that is, so I'm going to not leave as is. I'm definitely going to change that to WPAP Low Poly Specs. Okay, and my author, I'm the author, so I'm going to use my name. And then I'm going to just, if you want to add a subject or keywords, feel free. Click OK. And it's going to, this is for the readers, recognize text. I'm going to leave all the defaults for this. And I'm going to click OK. And it's going to think, takes a minute. I have a good computer. I shouldn't think this long, but anyways, it does. Thinking. Now, notice, I just want you to take a look over here on the right. It checks off what it's doing as we're going through this. Okay. It's going to ask me another question in a minute here. Recognizing text using OCR. So this is highlighted. So this is what it's doing now. There we go. Now it says to detect form fields. Now this isn't a form, but if you've left space or created squares or anything like that within any of your documents, it will detect those as form fields. So you can say yes, and then you can fill out the information you want to create a form from your document, which is amazing. Mine isn't a form, so I'm just going to say no and skip this step. And then it's going to say set the reading language. I'll leave it as English and click OK. And you can see it's auto tagging my document for me. Oh my gosh. Acrobat will detect all figures in this document and display any figures with missing alt text. Okay. Now it's saying, what is this here? What do we want to name it? And you'll see that I have images 1 of 8. Okay. So I'm going to call this header. Okay. and I'm going to click next. And then I'm going to call this student examples 1. And I know that I've got a few pages of these, so I'm just going to copy that. So Command or Control C, click next, Command V, student examples 2. So this is the next page, and I can see up here that I'm on page 3 of 8. So I'll click next again. 4. Sorry, was that 3? Now I'm forgetting. Good for me. It's okay. As long as I'm naming them as student examples, we're good. And I think I did have 6. Okay, and then this is my bad example. Watch your spelling. I am queen of spelling. Save and close. Okay, so now it's done everything that it needs to do. Awesome, thank you, Acrobat. And I have checked create accessibility report, okay, and it's going to save it. I'm just going to choose accessible PDF. I'm going to choose to save there. Okay, so when you click on this choose, you're just choosing the folder where you want to save it. If report to the document. Now, this is an invisible feature. So basically what's going to happen is if somebody else opens this, they'll be able to see the features on this menu here on the left. Okay, so I'm not going to attach it. And if somebody opens up the PDF in view or what was that again? Viewer, preview, that's what it's called. It's not going to show that either. Okay, so I select everything here. I want everything, do it all, go, check it all. Awesome, done, checked. Wow, fantastic. So now over here on the left, and you know, the thing that what kind of bothers me about Acrobat, I'm going to be honest, is you've got a menu here at the top, and it's kind of like a double menu. Okay, and I just want to point this out. This top part of the menu, kind of like a control panel, will have all your regular tools. The second or the lower menu here, this is actually dependent on what you have chosen over here on the right. Okay, so that's like another menu. And then on the left, you have another menu. So just make sure you're checking all over the screen. Okay. Okay, so because now in my example, in my Spark presentation, I talk about how I didn't label all of the images that it found within my document. And under alt text, it says that I had failed. So all you need to do actually is to right click on that. And here it says, I have 2 issues already, right? So logical reading order needs a manual check and color contrast needs a manual check. Well, I've checked mine, so I know my color contrast is perfect. So I'm going to right click on this and I can choose to pass it, which I am going to do for this one. I want you to just notice your options here. For this one, logical reading order, okay? If I right click on that and I choose explain, it's going to open up another web page, which is the help document, and it's going to tell me exactly how to fix it. Okay, so it's really nice in that sense where it directs you to the help. You can fail it if there's a problem, you can skip it. I'm going to pass it because I mean, mine is mostly images, so I'm okay with the reading order. Okay, and then we're going to save it. That's it. How easy was that? Amazing, right? File, save as. I'm going to save this as number 2. Okay, so I'm just going to call it 2. You can also name it something else if you want. It's up to you. Accessible PDF, there you are. Save you in there, and that's it. And that's the one that I'm going to upload to Blackboard. Now I'm just going to go, it's exporting it. I'm just going to go back to my presentation here, just so you see how easy it is. Like I said, I did create a video of that, so you can watch it if you're looking at this in the future. Let me just skim through here. So accessibility checker options, we did it. Awesome. On the right, you'll see checks beside all the tasks that it completes. So it just runs through it. On the left, you see your report. This is where I had not added the alt text to all of my images. And this is what it looks like. So when I right-clicked on that, I can choose fix. And what happens is it opens that exact same window where I was naming them. Remember student examples 1, 2, 3, and it just lists the last couple ones that I didn't name, and I name them, and then it's a pass. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's, and I just talked about this. Now reading in logical order. So if you choose to explain this, you have the option to do this manually. And we only have about 7 minutes left. So I'm going to just show you everything. Like I said, I have everything written down for you, but basically you're going to open up your reading order. And to correct your reading order, this is what it looks like. So it selects areas within your document automatically, and you can twirl open the pages. Okay, and you can see the order that it's putting everything in. So here, and it lists it. There's one, you can see there's a number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. So the OCR reader will read this basically by number, which is fantastic. If you are not happy with the reading order, you need to click on clear page structure. And this works for individual pages. Okay, so if I were to click clear page structure on this one page, it would get rid of all of this. And then I would need to basically click and drag a rectangle over the sections in the order that I want and rename them. That would be the manual way of doing it. So this part, definitely better to set up the reading order correctly in your original document. Okay, but if that's not possible, or if it's an old document or something, you can change it manually. Okay, so like I say here, I can see how it's structured my document. I'm happy with it. That's why I passed it. Okay, now I did put some links here. There's more information here on how to do that. And you can also edit tags in the tags panel, and there's more instructions here. So notice there's the explain option, like I said, and that takes you to the website where it basically gives you instructions on how to correct everything. It's just fantastic. Okay, so let me just see. There are a few manual ways you could try out if you'd like. Here's a video I made on adding links, bookmarks, watermarks, and headings manually. So just to show you, I can just close the accessibility checker here, and I can close this here. Okay, and if I go just to edit, where are you, edit? There you are, edit PDF. You'll see that I get this second layer of menu, and here I can do everything manually. So for example, if I go, oops, computer slow. Let's say I want to create a link. My computer is, so I can click on add or edit a web link. Okay, you can remove, view. So let's say I click on add and edit. If I click over text like this, see what happens? It creates an invisible rectangle. Okay, and I can choose to open a web page. I'll just click next, and it says, where do you want to go? Now, I just did a test, and I did walmart.ca, for example, and it didn't work. And the reason why was because it needs that http://. So my advice for this, if you're adding links manually, just make sure you go to the website, copy the address, and then paste it in that field so it works correctly. Otherwise, you might have problems. The other thing is, be sure you test your form. Test all your links. Once you've completed your document, you can save it, upload it to Blackboard, and we got full gas. Yes, 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 yes. So collaboration. So what if a student sends you a PDF and you'd like to add some feedback? You can, and in particular parts of the document too. So I have created the video here. Okay, and I do add a whole bunch of ways to collaborate. I'm just going to close this over here. But just to show you, for example, if I go to comment, check this out. Let me just go back to the top here. If I click on comment, I can say, oh, I'm going to think again, computer, thinking. don't crash. Okay. So if I choose a comment and it looks like nothing happened, but don't forget, we get this double menu here. I can click on this little comment and I can say, I can click on this and I can be like, love this, and then post. And then maybe I'll add another one over here. So color, yay. Okay, so you can see that I have these comments here throughout the document. So when the student gets it back, they can just click on them and they'll see it come up in the comments, or they can just hover over and it shows the comment right there. Okay, you can also highlight certain areas, for example, instructions. And you can add a comment there. See how it says over here, add a comment. Maybe lowercase. That's my comment. Sure. Okay, and they can see when I hover over, my note is attached. Cool, eh? Okay. So I do have to wrap up. So my conclusion, congratulations, you have finished this workshop. Now you know how to make PDF documents that are accessible, and they encourage dialogue and collaboration within the documents. You also learned a tidbit of design. Kudos. I don't know about you, but for some reason I feel like gardening. Did you notice all my plant pictures? Just being in touch with nature, guys. So this is my list of resources, lots of, yes. And a lot of the links that I've added throughout the document, they're also in here as well. So yeah, that's it. You can always contact me for if you have any questions. And that is all. I do hope this helped you. I hope you learned something, and I hope you will make your documents accessible.